What's up, Tifos? Danny Brams here. It is another edition of the Charlotte Soccer Show, and it's another visit from one of our friends over at Apple. I want to say it's that boy again, Callum Williams, the play-by-play commentator for Apple MLS Season Pass. He's called matches all over the world. He's called Libertadores. He's called for the BBC. He's called Premier League. He's called MLS. He's worked Sporting KC, Minnesota United. Now he's all over the league, and he will be calling Charlotte at Montreal this weekend. Charlotte looking for their first road victory of the year and maybe just finally get that road monkey off their back. Callum, thank you for joining Charlotte Soccer Show.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me. Really appreciate it. Sorry, it's a little bit chaotic, a bit noisy today as I head to the airport in Montreal. But no, all good, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely chaotic, and fans of this show, longtime fans of this show, know that we thrive on chaos here, so we have nothing to worry about there. I appreciate the fact that you were able to fit us in, and this is a show first in the history of Charlotte Soccer Show. First time we've had someone come on from the backseat of a rideshare, so excellent work there, Cal.
Oh, well, there we go. As I said to you, I apologise. I've been sort of running around the last couple of days. I've just got back from Paris and now heading up to Montreal, and lots of games going on Saturday and Sunday, other leagues being covered and what have you. So apologies. But if you thrive on chaos, then great. I would love to know what your secret is, because I need to thrive on the chaos at the moment.
Well, our secret is that we're just, we ride the wave. My co-host John Hayes, who he wasn't able to make it here today, but he has a famous saying, which is just ride the wave. You can't always predict what's going to happen, but you can always adapt to it. So that's what we're going to do here. And speaking of riding the wave, Charlotte's taking on Montreal, the worst team in the league. Should be an easy 3 points, but all of a sudden we find out this week Wilfried Zaha not going to be there. How does that change what Charlotte's going to do? How does it limit what we might be able to do? He's been a great player. He's only got the 2 goals and one assist, but he's been an awesome DP signing for Charlotte FC this year. The fans are falling in love with him week after week. What have you seen from Charlotte FC, Callum, and how do we handle the lack of Zaha here against Montreal?
Well, look, I agree that obviously it's a big blow. When you have a player of his quality, he's obviously going to give you an abundance that a lot don't have in this league. But I think what that does is it puts more pressure on the likes of Lia Labada, certainly Pep Biel, who I wonder, is he going to play a much more advanced role against Montreal? Because if I'm Dean Smith, I want him as close to goal consistently as possible. My assumption is that Agyemang again will start up front. I think, if anything, this is the game against Montreal where Montreal will obviously be expecting a certain quality. But I think Charlotte may very well have to go direct in this game from time to time. And the reason I say that is because CF Montreal, my assumption is that they're going to be as high press comes in North America, because let's not forget, it's their home opener. They played the first 7 games on the road because of the weather in Montreal. And any home opener, and you guys know better than anybody seeing your home openers, that there is a certain energy about them. And so I think it won't be any different. I've done the last couple of Montreal home openers, and they are very, very boisterous. They are extremely energetic, and they are a team that, as you quite rightly point out, they are at the moment lacking a couple of pieces. But I think they have some individual quality that I think can cause real problems. The biggest issue for Montreal at the moment, over the course of the last couple of years, really, has been their lack of defensive prowess. They've conceded a lot of goals. And a lot of the times last year when I covered Montreal, I think I did about 11 or 12 Montreal games last year. And so often they were architects of their own downfall. So often under Courtois, they would try and play out of the back in situations where it wasn't really wise to play out of the back whatsoever. And so I think under the stewardship of Marco Donadel, who is now at the moment the interim manager, but suggestion is that tag may very well change if he gets a couple of good results. I think if they are high press, which I expect them to be, if they are moving the ball as quickly as they often do at home, I think that may result in Charlotte having to go a little more direct than they would want to. So it could be a very big day for the likes of Patrick Agyemang, who, if they do go direct, will be expected to hold the play. But I do wonder as well what it means for the centre halves. I'm assuming it'll be Malonga once again, who, from what I have seen of him, is one of the best ball-playing centre halves in Major League Soccer. It's a big day for him if he gets the nod.
Yeah, we love Malonda here. I think that there's a question of, is it going to be Ream standing next to him or Andrew Privet standing next to him? And Dino has made no bones about the fact that he loves being spoiled for choice there. He thinks depth is a good thing, and he will sing it to the high heavens about how great it is to. And he's always says, "I get paid to make those choices." So he usually has good reason. Us from a fan perspective, a lot of times we see a starting lineup and we're like, "Oh well, Dino clearly is trying to do this," but then like when he explains it afterwards, he's, well, actually, I was trying to do that. So he has very good ideas of what he wants to do. And let's listen to Dean real quick here, because the question of who's going to fill in for Zaha, I think, is on a lot of fans' minds. And some people have suggested, oh, does he want Idon Toklamati? Maybe it's let's put him on the wing since he's been so good and have him and Agyemang on the field together. But Dino kind of shot that down, and here's him going through the list of who he actually thinks could fill in for Zaha's place.
No. I mean, I think in our wide areas, I think we're really good. You know, we've got Wilf, we've got Leal, we've got Kerwin, we've got Tavares who can play there, we've got Tiger Smalls who can play there as well. So I think we've got some really good options in the wide areas. We haven't got too many options down the middle. So I think it's really important that we keep working with both of them and improving them there.
So I don't think we're going to see Toklamati go out wide as much as fans would love to see that happen. But I do think it's interesting that he even mentioned a guy like Tiger Smalls might finally see some of his first minutes this season. I like what you said, Callum, about Charlotte being able to maybe just run riot if Montreal's high press doesn't suit them, and a guy like Agyemang maybe can score multiple goals. I think that'd be great. And when we talk about Patrick Agyemang, he hasn't really gotten going this season. He does have the one goal, but he's sort of a key piece for Charlotte FC to be a big time contender for the Supporter Shield. We're already dreaming about the Supporter Shield here in Charlotte, super fans. So do you think Charlotte FC has what it takes to be contender? They kind of have outperformed some of their underlying stats on the table. They've got more points than expected from one of those quadrant graphs that I saw recently. What have you seen from Charlotte in the matches you played, and what are you looking to see tomorrow night?
Well, so first and foremost, before I go on to that, the one from an individual perspective, the one person that I think will come in for Zaha is Kevin Vargas. I think would be the obvious individual to come in. But we'll wait and see, because the one thing Charlotte do have is an abundance of options, and that's a luxury in Major League Soccer. So I'm very interested to see how they replace the injured Zaha. In terms of what I've seen so far, I think it's been much of the same from a Dean Smith point of view. Dean Smith has a certain way of operating. He likes to play through the lines. He likes to have that single pivot player in Ashley Westwood's, drop in between the two centre halves, go long and direct when it's needed. And as I keep saying, I think there's an opportunity to do that against Montreal on Saturday. But I'm interested because Patrick Agyemang, you're not the first person that I've heard that has said he's yet to really get going. I'm not convinced that, and I know he's got 3 goals in 4 games for the national team, but I'm not convinced that Patrick Agyemang is a centre forward that you can rely on to score 20 goals a season. I just don't think he's that sort of centre forwards. I think he's got 10 goals in him a year, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I think he's a bad centre forward. What I'm saying here is that I think he offers much more than just being a goal scorer and just having goals at his disposal. I think he can provide an outlet for you when you're deep in trouble and you need to get out and you can go direct. I think he offers an opportunity to hold the ball up for the supporting cast around him. And I think at times, because he's also got a bit of pace about him as well, he can stretch the back line. So actually, Patrick Agyemang for me is one of those centre forwards that, yes, obviously the primary objective for the centre forward is to score goals, right? But I am not convinced that with just the one goal that he scored this year, I'm not convinced that Dean Smith has come away in the other 5 games irritated with Patrick Agyemang whatsoever, because I think he's given the other players in and around him opportunities to be involved in the play by holding the ball up, by providing an outlet, by providing knockdowns. And so it's interesting to me that people have said that he hasn't really got going yet. We're 6 or 7 games in, and I think just give him a little bit of time. And obviously he's proven that when given enough service, he can score goals. He proved that for the national team over the course of the break and what have you. But I wouldn't. If you were asking me to describe Patrick Agyemang, goal scorer would not be the first sentence and phrase that I would utter, because I don't see him as someone that can score 15, 20 goals a year. And that's not a bad thing, providing he's given everything else that I've just mentioned.
Well, in our preseason preview months ago, Johnny and I, my co-host, we said we were hoping over under of 20. You say 10, so I'd be happy to split the difference and get 15 from Patrick this year. I do like your analysis, and we have guys like Zaha, Pep Biel, Liel Abada, who in theory should be scoring goals as well. So,
yep.
and Dean Smith, he always says he's a center back by trade, right? He was a center back when he was playing. He said, all I know is when I look out there, I see two center halves that do not want anything to do with this guy, Patrick Agyemang. And he always says that with a bit of a twinkle in his eye. So he always says that. He says he's tough to play against. He's tough to play against. No one wants to play against him. So that's sort of a refrain. So I appreciate it, Cal. I know you got to go. We're going to keep it moving. But I do have one quick question that I want to go throw at you. Because you call games all over the league, but you did spend a few years very focused on Minnesota United right when they launched. They have a pretty big tradition that they're very proud of called the Wonderwall, their supporter section that sings Wonderwall after matches. We have a big tradition here in Charlotte that we call Pepas. It's a pregame ritual where everyone sort of puts arms on shoulders and turns around and jumps up and hops. Some people call it the Mint Street Hop, but I want your thoughts on Wonderwall versus Pepas. Who you got, man? I mean, come on. You guys are Charlotte. You're talking to a Charlotte audience here now.
Hey, look, I mean, the one thing I will say is that it's just tremendous that we have supporters that are as passionate as both fan bases are, right? I mean, this is getting noticed across the world. I mentioned I was in Paris a couple of days ago, and people that I spent time with, footballing people, were talking to me about fans in Major League Soccer because they're noticing how passionate the fans are becoming, particularly those that are a part of the new franchises. And I think we can christen Minnesota still in that vein. They only came in 2017. And so it's just great to see that there's so many fans that are as passionate as they are. What Charlotte do is great, and it provides an atmosphere. It provides something at the start of the game. I think they're both very, very different. One in the sense is, in essence, is to get everybody going and to get the blood pumping, if you will, in Charlotte. But in Minnesota, I think Wonderwall is more celebratory. And I'm always going to be slightly biased because also Wonderwall is my favorite all-time song. It was actually the song my wife and I danced to at our wedding.
Oh my gosh, and so that's fantastic!
I've always got a little bit of soft spot for Wonderwall, and so when the fans started singing that, actually, my wife and I were we said, yeah, we're working for the right football club at that time, because it was a song that I've listened to and grown up with Oasis for a long time. I'm going to see them when they return as well, and so any link to Oasis is always going to be a winner for me. But that doesn't mean that Charlotte are doing anything bad at all, because I think what Charlotte are doing are wonderful. But the one thing I will say as well before I head off is that I think that Dean Smith is doing a tremendous job, more than worthy of his new contract as well, and I hope he stays in Charlotte for a very, very long time. My family actually know Dean Smith because he is from a town outside of Birmingham called Great Bar, Birmingham, which is where I was born and raised. And so Dean Smith and my family, both of our families, drink in the same local pub in Birmingham. And so, whilst I've never seen Dean in the pub, I have seen his brother. I have seen other members of his family in there before. Dean's obviously, even when he was in England, was always away whenever everyone else was in the pub, and as was I usually as well. So we never really bumped into each other, but we have fond memories of the local pub, and often we talk about it when we see each other. And Dean has been great to me when he came over as Aston Villa manager. When Minnesota played them in pre-season, he was very, very open, had no problem giving me the team, and has been very open so far as manager of Charlotte. I've only done a handful of Charlotte games as well, which is a shame. I've actually not been to a home game at Charlotte yet, and I hope that changes, because I'd really like to sample that stadium and your tradition that you mentioned as well. So, but no, look, I'm just so happy that Dean Smith is doing so well. It's always good to see one of your own thriving, particularly abroad as well. So I hope Charlotte fans continue to embrace him, because he's doing a terrific job.
That is some excellent stuff. We are huge Dean Smith fans here, and I love to hear that Brummie connection as well. So, Callum Williams, thank you so much for joining us. fly safe, safe travels. Tip your driver well. He had to listen to this. He's your driver. He or she is the first one that got to listen to this episode. But we appreciate your time and have a great match on Saturday.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Peace.